All right, guys, let's talk some crankbaits for a second, some setups for cranking. And we're not talking just any crankbaits here. We're talking about the crankbait. This is like the most sought after crankbait there is ever, I think. We're talking Pre-Rapala Wiggle Warts. Rapala bought out Storm years ago, and one of the first things they did was they changed the mold on one of their best baits ever was the Wiggle Wart. And there's a whole family of Wiggle Warts, and what it did was it changed the action up and the sound on them, and it just changed how they fished. Like, I don't know how they did it originally. It might have been a mistake, but the original would hunt, and it would start going out like this. You know, it'd come back like a regular crankbait would, and then all of a sudden it'd veer off to the side and get really erratic. Then it'd come back a couple, and then it would come back again and track for a second, and then it would shoot off, and it was so erratic that it just really triggered a lot of bites and caught a lot more fish than other crankbaits. So what happened was these things are getting a little bit harder to get your hands on, and you got a cult following, and there's a group of guys now that are really into them. There's like an underground of traders and buyers and sellers and collectors and fishermen. And a lot of the fishermen, I mean, we all have our own stashes that we keep for fishing. We have a couple that we keep for collecting. But this is what you have here. By far the best rod I've ever used and the best setup for my Wiggle Wart fishing is made by Lew's. I don't know if you could see that or not, but it's called the Wart Special. This rod was designed specifically for this bait right here. And what it is a 7-foot. It's a medium heavy action with a fast tip. And I'd call that tip really light on this thing compared to a lot of other cranking rods and a lot of other rods. It's nice because it allows you to load up when you're casting, and the bait doesn't weigh hardly anything, that old small Wiggle Wart. So it's nice that you could really wind up and you get that bend, and then it just snaps forward and it really sends that crankbait a long ways, so you can get the most out of that bait on the way back in and give yourself a chance to catch more fish. So casting, this rod's awesome. Reeling in, you can feel everything, whether you're bouncing it off a dock post or rock or stumps or just grinding it in the sand or on the bottom. You feel every little thing, and then when you catch one, it really loads up. It's got like a nice big parabolic bend, and fish stay pegged when they're on this thing, and it's light enough that it'll handle the biggest fish. And there's a lot of guys out there that probably caught the biggest fish of their life on a Wiggle Wart, on a pre-wrap Wiggle Wart. So that's what I throw for a rod. Line, I just throw it on fluorocarbon, anywhere from 8 to 12 pound test, depending on where you're fishing and what you're after, how deep you want it to go. These things will run 6 to 14 foot or so, depending on what you're using for equipment. I use the speed spool, the HZ1. This one's a 5:1 to 1 ratio. I go up to a 6:4 to 1 ratio. It's got a little bit wider spool, and it can fling. It throws this thing a mile, and it's just butter smooth. It's an awesome reel. Lew's makes that baby too. So that's, like, if you ask me, this is the best combo ever for the Wiggle Wart right there. That's it. And then I'll show you real quick. I'll show you some of the different Wiggle Warts that I have here for my fishers, my collectors, what I have, and I'll show you the difference between them. So, like, there's your family of warts right there. That's most of the different sizes. So you start with your little tiny wee wart. There's a little wee wart right there, and it says it on the bill, wee wart. That's the little guy. I don't throw that one as much. It's a shallower one. It's definitely a deadly killer, and it's got that same erratic action. That's the one you're after right there. That's the Wiggle Wart. The best way, if you're new to this game, is to look under the bill, and if you see it printed on the bill, Wiggle Wart, like that, then you're pretty much looking at an original. If it's not printed, you want to look for the joints where the two sides came together in the mold. Usually it's got like a rough spot where you can see kind of on the chrome one a little bit better where they came together. A lot of times they just glued them together, and they got that nice, you know, thud sound. This is your flat wart. That'll even say flat wart on the bill. See how it's flat? That's a pretty neat one right there. Here's your shorty. There's a lot of guys who like to collect these shorties. That thing's got a nice action, big, like a wide, and then super erratic, and then you could hear the rattles in that thing. That's pretty sweet bait right there, actually. A lot of guys don't throw that one as much as the others, and it's definitely a proven fish catcher. And then here's the mag wart. This is the big boy in the whole family of them. That'll say on the bill, it'll say Magnum Wiggle Wart like that. If you can see it or not, I might not be picking up with a light. But that one's considerably bigger. I'll put him next to the regular Wiggle Wart, and you can see the size difference. I mean, you're only talking maybe like a ½ inch or so lengthwise, maybe a full inch, but body-wise, it's got quite a bit more. So the Magwart pushes a lot of water. It has that erratic swimming action, but it doesn't have quite as much as the original Wiggle Wart, which is just amazing how that bait it hunts. That's what we call it when it starts one way and goes another. But we'll just give a quick rundown on what we're looking at here. You got your 209s. This is like one of the most popular of the pre's. It's the craw series, the red craw. That's a pretty sick bait right there. And then you got your 62s, 63s. I don't really know all the numbers, to be honest with you. I'm more into like, well, that looks cool, it fishes. But you can see like where the joint came together on that one. And that might be part of why it's so erratic and why it hunts. This one's got like a red shade on its back. Then you got some straight up craws with the orange on them. A lot of these are fishers, some are collectors. You got your phantoms, those are pretty cool too. Your phantom craws, like that. This one's pretty sweet with the red dots on it. The green craws, I like that. I think that's like the 55. I could check on some boxes I have. That's a pretty sick bait too. And all of them are like a little bit different paint jobs for the same bait. So you got your perch in here and your bass. Some 29s, like your red craw. Your 54s. I like this one a lot. This was one that I collect a little bit more than I fish. It's one of the craw series, one of the suspending ones. I just like the color on that one a lot. Got some still in boxes. There's the SP52. That's a pretty sought after one. That's a cool one. I think that they made like a certain amount just for Bass Pro, and that was one of them. And then you have your chrome craws. I like these. This is the one they call the shrimp. It's actually pink. It's like a pink craw. And then you got some just straight up chrome craws. Your Tutti Fruities. You got your funny looking ones like that, lengthwise. And then this one's got the stripes the other way. I mean, it's pretty well. I know there is an end to it, but there's a lot of different colors. And this is just a inkling of what's out there. A lot of guys really like that one, the 208. It's the blue craw. That's a cool bait right there. I like that one. That fishes really well. That one. The striper, that's a cool bait. Striped bass, I like that one a lot. I mean, I like them all. Probably been saying that a while, but there's another striper. There's one a good friend of mine likes a lot. He might not even know I have that one. So I might get a phone call here in a minute for a trade. What else do we have? The Japanese ones. They made a small amount for the Japanese market. Those are pretty sought after collectibles there. And on the side of them, they have different names for each bait, and they changed it up. Like that was originally a brown trout. They added some different colors to it and called it the Imago. That's that, the short wart in that one. And then the Iwana is another pretty cool bait right there. Got your chartreuses. Got your mags. Got just some mixed ones. A couple of those might not be pre-wraps in the mags. Brown trout, that's a cool color right there. This one's pretty cool. I can't even remember the name of it. But I don't see a lot of those. I like that one. Then your straight gold chromes. I mean, these are just flat out fish catchers right there. Your blues, I like that with the blueback herring. That's an awesome one. There's the Wart Special. Then chrome, they made a ton of different chromes, whites, shads. Then you got a lot still like in the boxes, like your collectors here. Here's like a blue craw. That's the 208. Some 54s. They got a Missouri craw in here somewhere. This one, what's this one called? 59, I guess. Got a perch. Got some green craws. Striper, 62s, 63s. Brown trout. You got your SP 53. That one's pretty cool. That's another one of those special ones, suspending. But yeah, so that's kind of the setup. That's what I use for my equipment right there, is that Lew's custom speed stick and the Wart Special with a BB1. And that's kind of what I have for warts. It's crazy. You're either, like I said, you're either down with the sickness or you're not. You either get it or you don't. So don't hate the players. You can hate the game on this one. And if you have some you want to get rid of, give me a shout. We can make a trade. We can make a deal or whatever. And if you see anything in here that you're really interested, let me know. But anybody wants any advice, you could either hit me up on Joe Holland Fishing on my Facebook page, or go over to lew's.com or check out their dealers for these rods and reels. That's the setup you want to use if you're throwing any light crankbaits in that 6 to 14 foot range, especially if you're throwing wiggle warts.